Let's just be like, ready, aim,
Wait, fire! All my dings I'm getting from my hit markers.
My hit markers aren't even bothering. They're like not even trying. I'm just getting the one ding from dealing damage, and it's just like, yep, that's good enough. Please stand back. Sir, I did not ask you to come through here. Sir, please move back through the door.
We got like 75 or 80% through that though.
Who suggested like the lowest damage pyro weapon? Hello, gentlemen and gentle ladies. My name is Sir Stanger, and today, I can tell we're just going to be having a grand old time today already. Alright, so let's just start this off with the whole arbitrary, this is just my opinion, if you disagree with me, that's fine, everyone has their own opinion, yada yada yada. Okay, we all already know this, we've been through this spiel like 1.5 million times, and nobody needs to hear it anymore. While I don't exactly expect to be changing a lot of people's opinions today, my general hope is just that, you know, maybe a few people will walk away after watching this video just with a bit more of an open mind and thinking about things in a way they hadn't really thought of it before concerning this whole casual versus quick play thing. Also, another thing to note is that I am by no means saying that the current way that casual mode is perfect. It is heavily flawed. There is a lot of stuff that needs to be changed, needs to be fixed, needs to be straight up removed that has not been changed yet, at least not at the time of this video coming out. And don't you worry, we're gonna get to all that. Trust me, I have plenty of bad things to say about casual that we're definitely gonna touch on, so don't sweat. Alright, so the first thing on my list is probably one of the most apparent changes between quick play and casual, and that's right there at the very front of it. Right off the bat, casual is a queue-based system, while quick play just randomly found a game and threw you yourself in it with nobody else. And one of my favorite things about casual is the fact that we can queue with our friends and play with them in a game. So it's way easier to guarantee that you're going to be playing in a game with your friends. Now, granted, there's a limited number of friends you can have in a queue, but I mean, let's be real. If you're trying to bring more than 5 of your friends into a game mode, then you probably should just be looking for a community server or a relatively empty server to begin with. Back when quick play was around, this wasn't the thing. When you actually just searched for a game, it just put you inside whatever game it was that you were trying to get into, and if there was space in that game, then your friends could join off of you by, you know, clicking on your profile and hitting join game, which, you know, is something we can't do anymore, and I will admit that that is a little bit troublesome. It's a little bit troublesome we can't just join off of our friends anymore, but at the same time, I don't really miss that much. It's not as though quick play always took into consideration that you had a friend waiting to actually join that game. It would just throw you into whatever game and just kinda, you had to hope that there was enough space in that game for however many friends it is that you were bringing. Sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't, but ultimately you were usually better off just going in and actually searching for a game manually. AKA the server browser, which we still have. Not to mention you get to play on the same team as your friends now, which I know some people will like and some people won't. That's definitely a heavily opinionated statement, but you really couldn't play on your friend's team before. You had to hope you joined a game that had enough people missing from one team that you could join the same team as your friend. With me and Lady Stanger, this was definitely a problem. We were always getting put on opposite teams because there was just 2 of us. So we get put into a game where each team is missing one person, so we just have to play against each other all the time, which, I mean, I don't always want to do that. And while I will admit that's a relatively minute problem, I would still consider it a problem nonetheless. The freedom to choose to play on my fiance's team is something I would like to be able to do. And, you know, that's definitely more of a personal issue for myself. But I don't think I'm the only one who wants to be able to play on the same team as their friends. I personally find it more entertaining to play with my friends than against them, but I still do that sometimes. And besides, when I'm really craving to actually fight my friends, I can usually find some sort of community server that'll suit that need just fine. It's really not that hard to find one, and there are plenty of active community servers to play on. Overall, though, I do stand by my stance that this took a lot of the guesswork out of trying to find a server for you and your friends to play on, and I do appreciate the fact that this game will now try and queue you and your friends to play the game together, which is just, I don't know, that's an improvement in my book. Now, TF2 has this problem that I don't see a lot of people talk about, and that's that
it's got a lot of maps.
Now, to the average Joe, and especially the person who plays TF2 quite a bit, that really doesn't seem like much of a problem, just more stuff to play, right? Well, for you, yeah. Maybe a little bit. But for a brand new player coming into the game, it can be extremely overwhelming, and especially when you don't really know how the game works or what you want to do or how to play each of the classes or what all the game modes are like, it can be really overwhelming to have this many different options all thrown in your face at the same time. Now, I know Quick Play kind of simplified it down to a few game modes, but they weren't really explained all that well on their front page, and so a lot of people kind of had to guess what the game mode was like. I know for instance that the first time that I played Payload, I really didn't understand what it was about until I started playing it. I didn't really get what it meant just based off of reading it, and it even took me a few games to really like fully understand exactly what it was that I was doing and how I could help my team. That's really not to say that the game explains itself any better now that we have casual mode, but it does kind of organize itself a little bit more easily. We just have the game modes now, which you can select which ones you want to play, which you can now also select multiple that you might want to queue up for. So if you're not really sure what you want to play, you can pick multiple different game modes and just kind of see where it throws you. It really is nice to have all the information displayed right in front of you as to what maps you can and cannot end up on while you're searching. And I know that there's kind of like a little bit of discrepancy since you could end up on a server that's changing maps or something like that. And I get that. And that's always kind of a weird anomaly when it happens and sucks, but, you know, in general, you're supposed to be ending up on the maps that you have selected, and so, I don't know, I find this to be a really neat change. It's also made certain alternative game modes a little bit more forward-facing. Stuff like Pastime and Medieval Mode were not really as in the forefront as they are these days, and I know that those are still relatively underplayed game modes, and I understand that, but they're still a lot easier to get to now, in my opinion. And I know Pastime used to be in the Quick Play roster as well, but stuff like Medieval Mode, you had to literally search for Medieval Mode servers, because I don't really think Valve considered it an official mode back when Quick Play was around, so you couldn't search just for Medieval Mode. If I want to play Medieval Mode, I gotta actually go and like hunt down a server. But you know, nowadays, if I want to do it, I can hit it up and just queue up for a medieval game. And I think this could really go for a lot of other game modes that we are seeing kind of blossom around the community. It could be a lot of fun to queue for this stuff in casual. I dig the layout, I dig the menu. Overall, I think it looks really clean and it feels really clean, and I'm happy with that. But that's not really why we're here, right? Now, this is probably going to be a really big topic of contention for some people, but personally, I find the games that have happened after casual mode was released to be a lot more structured and a lot more enjoyable. In general, I'm finding myself in less games where nobody's taking the game seriously and everyone's just dancing around, being friendly. I find myself in more games where people are trying to take the point and trying to win a game, and this isn't always the case, and it's never going to be, but I do feel like it's happened a lot more often since we've moved on over to the casual system. Now, whether or not this is a good thing is really up to personal opinion, which, like I said at the beginning of this video, that's all this video is just me spouting my opinion. And in my opinion, casual mode is just generally more fun. Yes, as blasphemous as it is to admit, I think that casual mode is just more fun than quick play, especially on the grounds that it just seems more organized. Like, I'm going into games and people are trying to kill me, I'm trying to kill them, and we're just all having a fun time. And while the game is happening, I'm having a lot of fun. Now, I know that there are lots of issues that casual mode has, and we'll get to those in just a second, but overall, I've been enjoying myself more since casual came out. Quick play could get on my nerves after a little while. You know, there'd be a lot of trolls. I mean, it's still that way. The basis of TF2 is still there, but to me, it just feels so much cleaner now. Like, it just feels like the game is moving in a direction where people are actually trying to play it. The old glory days of TF2, where you had a community server that was like your home server and you knew basically everyone who played on it all the time, and you could constantly go back to it every single day, those days are long gone, and we need to stop, A, glorifying those days as though they are the absolute best way this game can be played, and B, thinking that's ever going to happen again, because it's not. It's just, forget about it, those days have long since passed. This game is not the chaotic mess that it once was, and you know, that's a good thing, in my opinion. I mean, we're moving forward, and change is scary, and I understand that, and there's a lot of veteran players who don't really want to see their favorite game turn on its head, and that's totally understandable, but at the same time, the game's health needs this. It can't stay just everyone going to a certain community server every single day. Like, that's cool and all, but that's not gonna keep people coming. Like, people are not gonna constantly join this game for that experience. I mean, one of the strongest assets of Team Fortress 2 has always been its veteran community. You know, we've had these longtime players that have always been playing the game and working to improve it, but at the same time, a lot of those people I feel like are holding the game back. They really don't want the game to change all that much. They want it to stay the same goofy, you know, way without any sort of real change coming, and that's counterproductive. One of the many reasons you see so many people leaving this game right now is because they're saying it's stale. The game is stale. It's dying. It's losing their interest. There's nothing new. There's nothing changing, and there's nothing to keep their interest in this game anymore. And there's so many people out there who are begging for this game to constantly have some sort of update, some sort of change, and yet when they do, they immediately want it reversed. And I understand that casual mode is imperfect, but we have to take it for what it is and build off of it, rather than just trying to reverse everything and go back to our old ways, which were really not getting us very far. Casual is basically just a bare bones structure for the game to be built around right now, and quick play was basically no structure. There was no real guidelines, no real anything anyone had or didn't have to do. Nothing was really clear in the game. There was no set goals for anyone to achieve. And so the game just kind of existed. And so I like the way that casual is trying to structure the game. It's trying to give people a place to go. And while these medals and experience points and all that stuff are completely fucking meaningless, and that is definitely next to unexcusable and really needs to be addressed, it's a good direction. I like where we're going. And I hope that we keep going in this direction and we keep on improving, because that's the only way we're ever going to achieve anything.
I'm way too passionate about this.
But as I've said several times throughout this video, casual is definitely not perfect, and it definitely needs a lot of work, and I think that we need to address that. Alright, real quick here before we start digging into casual mode too hard, I do want to address a couple things that I know people talk about and they say are casual mode's fault, but have been a problem since well before quick play was around. I just want to address these real quick. First and foremost being hackers. Hackers have always been a problem in TF2, as to my knowledge they've never not been an issue, and they're probably going to continue being an issue for a very long time. It's not casual mode's fault that hackers exist, and I don't think that we've seen an uptake in hackers since casual was implemented, but I do think that they took away some of our tools that we had to deal with hackers beforehand. Ever since casual mode removed the ability to go into spectator and actually check to see if somebody's hacking, and also to switch teams to help kick the person who is hacking, we've definitely seen an issue where hackers join a game and one team just refuses to kick him. Either A, because they like the hacker being on their team, which if that's the case, go fuck yourself, or B, because they don't feel like they have enough evidence to kick the guy on the grounds of hacking, which again can usually be disproven if someone can go into actually spectating that person and seeing if their freaking mouse is flicking all over the place. Another thing that I've seen is people complaining about one team being much better than the other, and there being a lot more roles these days, and I don't think that has so much to do with casual mode itself, because we've had roles for a long time. I remember getting rolled all the time back when quick play was around. It's really not that new of a thing. The real reason this feels like more of an issue right now has more to do with the numbers game and less to do with one team being significantly more skilled than the other, which does still happen, but I wouldn't say that's the primary reason for everything happening. For whatever reason, casual mode finds it really hard to add new players in the middle of a game and not immediately at the end. It always seems like when you get added to a game that's in progress, you're being added directly at the end, well before you could have done anything to help that particular team if they were losing, rather than the game trying to put new players into the game as it's happening, which another problem being that we don't have auto balance anymore, so people aren't being moved from one team to the other to make sure that both teams have a relatively equal number of people. So we have seen many times where like 5 people disconnect from blue team and then boom, blue is fucked for the rest of the game because nobody else is going to join. Alright, but now onto the issues that casual definitely brought on all by itself and that need to be addressed. The first issue, and one of the more common complaints I see, is
you can't have a progression system with no progression.
There is no discernible difference between someone who's a high level in the game and someone who is at a low level, someone who's been ranking up a lot and someone who hasn't been. You should be getting some sort of reward for leveling up. It should feel like an achievement every single time you do so, especially since it gets really hard to start leveling up towards the higher levels. There's a lot of experience you gotta be getting in order to reach from one level to another at that point. Having a leveling system with no reward for leveling up is like having a customer rewards program, except for every single time you fill out a card, your reward is you get another card. Now, there have been a lot of good ideas and a lot of bad ideas on how to actually implement some sort of reward program, program, but everyone seems to agree that there needs to be something. Without it, I don't really have much incentive to go from this to this. Moving right along, one of the other problems that I see that people have with casual that's pretty legitimate is the fact that it takes a little bit longer to get into a game these days. Now, while this is definitely true and definitely a problem, I know that there are a lot of contributing factors to this as well. For instance, because it is a queue-based system, it is trying to find a game for everyone to play all at the same time. So, especially if you have a large group of people with you, maybe from multiple different regions, it's trying to find a game that all of your friends can play that won't have a huge ping difference, that'll also be a balanced game, it's missing all those people in a game mode that you're looking for. It can take a little bit of time. Personally, I don't have this problem too much because mostly I just queue for payload and I, queue up with maybe 2 other people at most at any given time. That's a relatively popular game mode and not very many people, so it doesn't take too long for me to actually find a game. But I know for people who have a really large group or for looking for a really underpopulated game mode, this could definitely be a problem. One way to potentially remedy this is to actually make it so you can find Valve servers with the server browser again. Now, for those of you who don't really know what I'm talking about, before you used to be able to find what are essentially now casual game mode servers in the server browser. So if you wanted to just play a normal basic casual game, you could by just going into the server browser and picking out your map and finding a game with the number of people it is that you want and, whatever, just joining straight into it. I know for a fact this has been a complaint for a lot of other people as well. It doesn't really bug me that much that I can't find them in the server browser, but I know for a lot of people it's a really big deal, and I can kind of see why. So it definitely would make sense to me to bring it back, unless I heard a really good counter argument to actually reason why that's a bad idea. I don't really see any reason this shouldn't happen. And maybe while they're at it, they could go and re-add ad hoc connections. I know a lot of people really use those a lot. I know I did every now and again as well for getting into, basic quick play games. Basically, that was when you went to your friend's profile and you actually just clicked to join game and it just brought you straight into the game. You used to be able to do that for casual games, or what the equivalent of casual games were, but you can't anymore, and I can definitely see why that bugs some people. I do hope that they implement a way to turn that off or make it so you can make it, only your friends join you, or, that you just don't want anyone to join you so you can turn it off on your profile. I feel like that particular option would be nice to have at least, but, that's just me wishful thinking, I guess. And last, but most definitely not least, is the way that game transitions are handled within casual. So this is actually the culmination of a whole bunch of issues. For one, why is it that when I queued up for payload, the maps that are suggested are just the payload map that we just played and a bunch of non-payload maps? I clearly queued up for payload, so those are the maps that I want to be playing on, not these other ones, so stop giving me those options. Secondly, when we vote for the same map, which almost always happens because that's the kind of game that we all queued up for, why is it that the game has to reload itself to come back into the same map? This definitely wasn't the thing back when quick play was around. I know for a fact it doesn't have to happen. You can still go to community servers where this doesn't happen. I mean, there's really no excuse for the map needing to reload itself every single round. I want to hear the technical reason why that has to happen, because I just can't think of a good one. And this is truly a way that we can gap the bridge between people who enjoy casual and people who enjoy quick play, by just closing the gap between games, making it easier to transition from one round into the next round, either on the same map or on a different map, and just making it take less time. There's no reason to take as long as it does at the end screen with all the different scores and the different map choices and stuff like that. It's inexcusable. Luckily though, in my opinion, all of the problems that casual currently has can be fixed and built upon, and I do feel like that if we continue to build on this current system, we can have the most perfect game of Team Fortress 2 that we've ever seen. But it's going to take a lot of time, it's going to take a lot of commitment, it's going to take the community really getting behind this idea, and we all need to pull our heads out of our nostalgic asses and just look to the future and see what we can do to make this game better than it is right now, and not by going backwards. That's not an option anymore. We got to move forwards now. Whether you agree with me or not, casual looks like it's going to be here to stay, so you might as well at least do what you can to help improve the system while it exists and make this game that much more enjoyable for you and everyone else. But as I said in the beginning of this video, all of this is just my opinion, and I'm really excited to see what your guys' opinion is down in the comments section below. And I have a feeling this is going to be one hell of a shit show, and I know that there's going to be a lot of comments and heated talking. Let's try and keep things civil here, guys. I know this is relatively a pretty heated topic in the TF2 community, and I want to keep this thing a little bit civil if we can. I wanted to give a huge shout out to my Patreon supporters. You're basically the reason I'm still able to do this, and you help me make rent and pay for groceries and gas and all that shit. It helps more than you ever know. I really do appreciate it. If you feel like supporting me on Patreon, there's a link down in the description. I would definitely appreciate it if you at least check it out and see what some of the different reward tiers offer. Also, a huge shout out to anyone who sent me a donation in the form of a TF2 or CSGO or Valve item, whatever. It just doesn't really matter. I really do appreciate it, and those mean the world to me also. I really do feel like I have some of the most just supportive fans and viewership out there. Like, I have so many people who are just constantly supporting me to do this channel, and I really just, I cannot thank you guys enough. You guys just make every single day working on videos like this worth it, and I really need to do a better job at putting out more videos for you guys, so I'm definitely sorry about that. Anyway, you guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Please let me know what you thought down in the comments section below, and with that, let's keep the internet classy. I'll see you then. Hello, my name is Sir Stanger. Hello, my name is Sir Stanger. Hello, my name is
Excuse me!
My name is Sir Stanger. Hello,
Can I have the attention of the internet?
My name
For
is
1 second!
My name is Sir Stanger.